Are you ready to feel the best you've ever felt in your entire life? Are you ready to kick anxiety, depression, hallucinations, low energy, low libido, all that stuff to the side? Are you ready to feel the best you've ever felt in your life? Are you tired of doctors doing BS to you? Okay, sorry, I need to keep it calm, keep it light, keep it casual, but let's get into it. All right, so today I'm going to show you guys how to culture Bifidobacterium infantis into cultured dairy. Now, if you're new here, my name is Sierra and I run the blog Sisterfrennn.com. So welcome to all my new friends. And I'm super passionate about helping people with their gut health. So a little bit about me, it's all over the channel, but just to give all you newbies a little bit of a rundown, I was born with sickle cell disease type SS. It is a genetic blood disorder where the cells are crescent shaped. Think of them as like a banana, and they don't travel through your veins. They get stuck. It causes low hemoglobin, really bad pain crises, jaundiced eyes, and you have to be on narcotics, and it's just a really awful disease. You can go look it up in your spare time. So I was born with it. When I was a little girl, they had me on penicillin and folic acid. I don't know why. And so since I was little, I was on those antibiotics. And then when I had my transplant, I went through really heavy duty chemotherapy there. I was on methotrexate, which is very toxic for somebody with the MTHFR genetic mutation. I'm also super passionate about telling people about that genetic mutation. If you don't know about it, it is called MTHFR. It affects so many people, and it could be the reason why you are dealing with anxiety, depression, heart stuff, all kinds of things, because it has to do with detoxification in your liver. So I highly suggest that you get tested for that. So anyway, having had sickle cell, being on antibiotics, then going through chemotherapy with a bone marrow transplant, I have been emotionally wrecked for years. When I was a little girl, I used to have panic attacks. I've suffered for years and years and years with anxiety and depression. I've had knee surgery. I've had my gallbladder out. I've had just a myriad of things take place with regard to my health. And all these years, when my body finally started having even more panic attacks, intrusive thoughts, hallucinations, I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. I even told my husband at one point, I'm going to have to be on SSRIs because I've done everything. I've gone to therapy, I've done this diet, that diet, I've gone to acupuncture, I've done all the things, and nothing is making me get my head above water. It wasn't until I found the carnivore diet that things actually got a lot better for me, because I came from being more of a vegetarian type eater. I was vegetarian for 5 years, but I wasn't totally vegetarian when I found carnivore a couple of years ago. It really helped me so much discovering organ meat, because organ meat is actually very crucial in repairing your DAO enzyme in your stomach. But I could go on and on and on. You guys came here because you want to know how to make Bifidobacterium infantis yogurt. But the reason that I wanted to give you guys that history is because that is what probiotics do. Bifidobacterium infantis is a probiotic, and it's so crazy to me that I'm 36 years young and I discovered probiotics so late in life. I had no idea that having bacteria, very specific bacteria, could be the thing that can make or break your mind. I had no idea that you could be depressed and having panic attacks and have sleepless nights because you were lacking bacteria. And because I live in the West here in America, we are exposed to so many toxins. They spray our crops with glyphosate. We have animals that are being pumped up with lots of antibiotics. A child can have a cold or a flu, and doctors are really quick to write them a prescription. And so every time you take these antibiotics, if you don't know about probiotics, which I never did, you can literally have a lifetime of just being wrecked. You could have maybe been a teenager having unprotected sex. Let's say maybe you were having sex when you were really young, and then maybe you went to urgent care and the doctor gave you a prescription for something to cure your STD, or your UTI. And then you never really were able to trace back why you were never the same, but it was those antibiotics. And like I said, I have said this in many other videos, I'm somebody who never drank milk. I didn't really eat animal products, and antibiotics also, they deplete your B vitamins. So you could be walking around depressed because you took an antibiotic for a UTI or an STD or a cold or a flu, or you know, maybe you were born with a genetic blood disorder, and like me back in the day, they gave everybody penicillin for everything. So I was wrecked as a little girl, and I was wrecked growing up, and it can really wreck relationships. And so I'm really passionate because, you know, everybody deserves to feel good. Everybody deserves to have a calm nervous system and to not be ruminating about death all the time. That was also a part of my story. When I was at my worst, I was ruminating all the time. But I am so sorry. I am going on and on and on. Before I show you how to make this Bifidobacterium infantis yogurt, I also want to offer you my free Rebirth Ancestral Guide. It is basically a starter guide to teach you where to start in your healing. I put my heart and my soul into it, and it is a free download just for you. It's like a little book I wrote, and it's got a really great starting point for you as you are on your healing journey and as you want to remedy your health. So head over to sisterfrennn.com and you can get that free download today. So before I show you how to make the yogurt, I've said that 100 times. Let me tell you a little bit about Bifidobacterium infantis. Dr. William Davis really changed my life listening to so many of his lectures. I'm also going to put his lectures in the description box because he has a powerful, amazing lecture on Bifidobacterium infantis here on YouTube. So I'm going to put that link here. And also Dr. Barbara O'Neill. I'm sure many of you guys have seen her videos, her lectures. She's the Australian lady who's telling us about herbs and little poultices and castor oil and all the home remedies that we can do here at home. I actually just listened to a lecture of hers, and she was blowing my mind with things about bacteria that I did not know about. So I'm also going to put that lecture here in the description box because the more you know, the more you heal. So anyway, Dr. Davis has this lecture, and he, with his lecture and other findings that I have found, Bifidobacterium infantis is so foundational for infants. And so many little kiddos and young people are missing it because if we have generations that have had antibiotics and then we're having babies and they're having babies, we're missing these very crucial bacteria strains, and it can be detrimental for our health. So Bifidobacterium infantis is foundational in infants, and it is so important for mamas to be eating this yogurt and taking Bifido so that you can pass it through your breast milk to your baby. And that's another reason that a lot of us are missing these very important strains, is that so many people don't breastfeed. And I hate to rub feathers, but I know we live in America where people sign off on the idea that fed is best. I wholeheartedly disagree. I do not think fed is best. I think that breast milk is the gold standard for all of us. I think breast milk can, I know based on the research that is out there, I know that breast milk is so important for babies. There are links to children who have not been breastfed, to childhood cancer, to all these different things. I'll put some links here in the description box for that stuff too. So being breastfed is so crucial. And I know that there are people out there who have adopted babies and, you know, all of that kind of thing. And I think that raw dairy is a really great resource for, you know, women who are not able to breastfeed. I am really digressing on this video, but it's so important. This bacteria is so important, and I really want to get it in there, but let me, I know my husband's gonna be like, why are you on your soapbox? So Bifidobacterium infantis really helped me in the beginning of my journey. Because I had my gallbladder taken out, I really struggled with gut motility, and I didn't realize that the food I was eating, I was not actually absorbing it. So when I started Bifido, I actually was not eating it in dairy. I was actually taking a supplement, and it helped me so much. I mean, fasting. I was taking digestive enzymes with the Bifido, but the Bifido supplement combined with digestive enzymes, oh my gosh, it was like I could eat more than a meal in a day. I mean, I know I'm not super skinny mini over here. I've got a little bit of a double chin. But I was really like not absorbing food. And that is so many people's stories. People are thinking that just because they're eating all the right things that they are absorbing nutrients, and that's not always the case. And so it's going to help you digest. So it might help you with bloating, gas, all those things. And I really noticed a huge difference with Bifido, with absorption, with food absorption, with gut motility. I was able to eat more than one meal in a day, because I would eat one meal and I would be stuffed for hours and hours and hours, but Bifido has helped me so much. The next thing that Bifido does is it's gonna help calm your nervous system. Probiotics in general can really help with GABA, which is a neurotransmitter. So when you start your probiotics, you're really just gonna start to notice your nervous system being way more calm. You know, because of the sickle cell and the narcotics and the dense medical history that I have, I was even diagnosed with premature ovarian failure. So I'm 36 years young, and I've already gone through so many of the menopausal things. I mean, they told me that my numbers at some points were straight in the menopause range. I've dealt with the menopausal insomnia. I've dealt with the hot flashes. I've dealt with it all with regard to hormones. And so I gotta tell you, it wasn't until I started my probiotic journey, especially even with Bifido, that I really noticed that I started sleeping through the night. Yes, I do take HRT, and HRT definitely helps me with sleep, but my husband will tell you, since we've been together, I'm not waking up all hours of the night. So HRT alone did not help me sleep through the night. Carnivore for sure was a no-go for sleep for me, but incorporating these probiotic strains, especially Bifido, really helped calm my nervous system and keep me sleeping through the night. Of course, like most probiotics, Bifido is gonna help your mood. Like I said, I think that L-reuteri helps the most with mood. You can really feel that love hormone with that one, but Bifido definitely helps. Bifido is also really great for supporting immunity, which is why Bifido is so important for mamas breastfeeding babies. Like, it's going to make their immune system so much stronger. If you were a mom and you were looking for the #1 bacteria that you want to put in your body for your baby, I would absolutely recommend Bifido infantis. And I think a really great way to get it in is cultured dairy. It's bioavailable. Our body recognizes it. So immunity is key. I also saw a huge difference in my immunity with raw milk, which I talk about in my raw milk video, but Bifido is amazing for immunity. And the last thing that I'll say about Bifido, which is really great, and I think all the probiotics really help with this, is that if you're someone who struggles hormonally, which I just mentioned, they really do. I did not know that bacteria could influence the signals between your pituitary gland and your ovaries. So this is another reason you should absolutely get this one in your diet. Now, you guys have AI, you have all the tools out there. Google the library. I love the library. And so you guys can go do your own research on it. But Bifidobacterium infantis has been a great addition to our life. It has helped my husband, who has dealt with chronic allergies his whole life. I know I've said this in other videos, but my husband actually was not breastfed. And, you know, we've taken him to this doctor, that doctor, this doctor, that doctor, because his allergies are not just in the fall when there's pollen everywhere. His allergies are constant, like can't breathe, can't sleep, just ruining his life. And his mom told me it was like that when he was a child, but she had no idea breast milk and bacteria could help him. So for years and years and years, he has been taking all these antihistamines. If you don't know what an antihistamine is, that's Claritin, Allegra, all of those things that fight allergies. So he was always taking those. He was constantly pumping that Afrin stuff in his nose. And the doctors say, oh no, it's fine. There's no side effects. There are absolutely side effects, because we all have something called the DAO enzyme. And when you take that, you are ruining your DAO. And I would beg him not to take it. And he would be like, well, I need relief. But it never gave relief. It really just made the problem worse. But as we have introduced so many bacterias, it is just amazing. He could be having a flare up, and I'll put some Bifido in front of him, or Reuteri, or Gasseri, or Rhamnosus, or Paracasey. Those are different strains of probiotics. Or homemade kombucha, which I have a series coming on the channel for that I've been working on. And his allergies get lower and lower. It has been about 8 months and he hasn't taken a single antihistamine. So bacteria is something that can really just fundamentally change your life. I don't want to go too deep into the weeds on this, but even as a woman who's been on hormone replacement therapy for almost about 10 years now, I have lowered my estrogen patch because my receptors are starting to, my pituitary gland and my ovaries, things are starting to respond because I now have the appropriate bacterias in my gut. I mean, I'm also on royal jelly and deer placenta, and I'll have to do a whole other video on that. But without further ado, let me show you how to culture Bifidobacterium infantis into cultured dairy. And also, I just want to remind you, heal your gut, heal your life. Once you heal your gut and you get the gut dysbiosis out of there, everything else will fall in line. All disease starts in the gut. So heal your gut and everything else will fall in line. Heal your gut, heal your life. Don't forget to head over to Sisterfrennn.com to grab the free guide on how to start your rebirth and learn how to heal yourself through ancestral healing. All right, let's get into the video. All right, friends, so we are going to go ahead and culture our Bifidobacterium infantis into cultured dairy. So here we have our actual probiotic strain, the Bifidobacterium infantis. I've got organic half and half. If you're outside of the US, you can use whole milk and heavy cream. I am using a mason jar because I like to make my yogurt in the Instant Pot in mason jars. So I am just pouring my milk into the mason jar, and then I am heating it up on the stove because this milk is not ultra pasteurized. And Dr. Davis often says that there can be other spores and bacteria in the milk. So I am just gently heating my milk to 180 degrees to make sure that there are no other live bacteria in the milk, so that our Bifidobacterium infantis will be the live culture in this yogurt. So when I'm done, I am pouring the milk into a clean, sterilized jar. I'm not pouring it back into the other one because that one had residual of the unpasteurized milk. So here is our actual culture, the Bifidobacterium infantis. I've just got one little scoop. I'm going to be using inulin powder and honey as our prebiotic food for this culture. So here I am pouring in 2 teaspoons of inulin powder into a sterilized glass bowl. You've got to be very careful when you're making your yogurts because you want to make sure that your bacteria is what survives. There are lots of microbes around us. So now I am checking the milk. I meant to grab it when it was about 95 degrees, but it got cooled down to 86 degrees. And as I pour the milk in, I am stirring it vigorously to make sure that all of those inulin crystals are well dissolved. The reason I wanted to grab the milk when it was around 95 is because the heated milk helps to melt the crystals. So here I am adding in about a teaspoon of honey. I didn't measure it. You could see it was just a couple drops of honey. And this is going to be really great food for our Bifido to feast on during the fermentation. So like I said, I am whisking it together really well to make sure it's all dissolved very well. And then I am pouring it back into the mason jar. Once I'm done, I'm putting the lid and just gently putting the screw top on. I did not seal it, let it breathe a little bit. And then I am adding it into my Instant Pot. There is no water. I just leave it in there on its own. I then set it to yogurt. With Bifido, I am setting the temperature at 100 degrees and I am setting it to 30 hours. You can also do this one for 24 hours. You can do whichever you like. I've done both. So here we are 30 hours later. Our Bifido is stiffened up, our yogurt is stiff, and then I am popping it into the refrigerator. The next day, after it has been refrigerated, there is our yogurt. It looks so good. So here is our Bifido. Look at how creamy that looks. Look at that top. I just wanted to keep showing you guys the top of it because it looks so pretty before I dived into it. And can we just talk about the light? Because sometimes the light hits my kitchen perfectly. But oh my gosh, look at that creamy goodness. You guys, this is preservative-free yogurt. It's probably got billions of probiotics because we started off with 500 million of Bifido, and over the course of the fermentation, it just expanded. But look at that, preservative-free, filler-free, organic, unsweetened, homemade yogurt.
That's the exact kind jar.
So now to keep the culture going, I did this time buy ultra pasteurized half and half. This Organic Valley is ultra pasteurized. So I'm pouring it into the mason jar. Because it's already ultra pasteurized, you don't have to heat it, but I am, because that saves us time of the milk having to heat up during the fermentation. So I am just heating it up. I'm going to use the same mason jar that I am already using because the milk was ultra pasteurized. As the milk heats up, I'm just gently stirring it, and I accidentally went over 100 degrees, so now we have to wait for the milk to cool down. Now we are checking the milk to see if it's cool. It is at 93 degrees, and so now I am just adding in some of my yogurt from my last batch. I know many of you have asked me in previous videos, do I have to add inulin or honey? No, you don't. If you do, nothing will really happen. I've tried it before. You can if you want to, but everything is totally fine. All you have to do is add in your yogurt to your new batch, and that's how you keep this starter going. Now this yogurt that we're making will be our starter culture for the next batch. So as you see, it just goes on and on and on. So we're adding this yogurt into the Instant Pot. No water. I am now setting it to yogurt, 100 degrees, and I am putting it on 30 hours. Like I said, you can also do 24 hours. At the end of 30 hours, here is our next batch of yogurt again, thick, and now I am refrigerating it until the next day. Now, here is our yogurt the next day. Because I put it straight in the fridge after the fermentation, it kind of sealed itself in the mason jar. But look at that creamy top, even more creamy than the last time. Now, I just want to remind you, never double dip. Do not lick your spoon and put your spoon back into your yogurt because you will introduce other bacterias into your yogurt. This yogurt is your starter culture. So whenever you want to make another batch of yogurt, you're going to use a couple of tablespoons of this yogurt for the next batch. So make sure you are not double dipping. But that yogurt looks so creamy, so good. I just wanted to show you guys it also a little bit later in the day after I had scooped out some more. I was eating it. It's so good. But look how creamy it is, even in half the jar. Just so creamy. All right, so let me know if you guys decide to make this Bifidobacterium infantis cultured yogurt. Let me know how your yogurt turns out. Let me know what you think of the taste. I've noticed that all of these different bacteria strains have different tastes. And let me know if you're noticing any health benefits. And don't forget to head over to Sisterfrennn.com. I am giving the first 100 people a copy of my Rebirth Ancestral Guide. It is a start guide to gut healing. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one.